Specie 4K action.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me again. Today is a super exciting day. We are doing our top 25 90s movies. This is a community list thing that Tim over at Tim Talks Talkies is doing. I'm going to leave his information down in the description below if you want to make your own list. You can create a video like I'm doing myself if you're a creator, or you can DM him on Instagram, Tim Talks Talkies, as well as send him an email with your list at timtalkstalkies@gmail.com. All of that information can be found below. And as well, I mean, if you just comment your list on my video, I will send your list over to him. We're trying to get as many lists as possible. I know I have a couple friends and family members creating lists, so I do hope to get a couple more over to him via email at some point. But today, guys, is my list. It hopefully doesn't offend too many people. This is my list, not anyone else's list. It's not going to be, you probably won't agree with every movie that I pick, but all of these movies have some special meaning to me, whether it's something I've seen 1,000 times or I grew up watching, or it's just a spectacular movie that I really love and enjoy. So, yeah, without further ado, guys, we're going through a big list, 25, coming from 1994 when I was 5 years old. Is good old D2 The Mighty Ducks. This movie is my childhood. I grew up in Southern California. I was 5 years old when this came out. I was playing hockey when this came out. We would do flying V formations in practice. We would practice our knuckle puck, even though it was absolutely ridiculous and not something you would ever do in a real game. D2 Mighty Ducks, an all-time kid's favorite for me. So that is my number 25. 24. This might be the best ensemble cast, ever. We have Natalie Portman, Sarah Jessica Parker, Jack Black, Christina Applegate, Michael J. Fox, Martin Short, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Glenn Close, Danny DeVito, Jack Nicholson. That's right, the all-time sci-fi comedy classic, Mars Attacks, is my number 24. This movie is so fun, so funny. I can't get enough of it. I literally just watched it a few days ago, and I absolutely love it. I love the whole idea of them figuring out that the aliens can't stand really old yodeling music, and it makes their heads explode. I love everything about this movie. The cast, of course, is incredible. I also love the bald General Decker guy. We have to nuke them, and we have to nuke them now, sir. I love that guy. This movie is just so ridiculously fun, sci-fi, end-of-the-world comedy. You have to see it over and over again, at least I do. I just love this movie so much, and I had to include it on my list because I don't think anyone else will. But Mars Attacks is my number 24. My number 23, this is definitely my favorite Michael Bay film. The soundtrack with Aerosmith is pretty top-notch, and of course I'm talking about the 1998 classic, Armageddon. Oh yeah, Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, and the list goes on and on. What a movie. Yes, the story may be a little bit ridiculous in times, but the acting, the cast, they work so well together. This has some very dramatic moments. It has some great dialogue moments. It's got some comedy in it. It's got everything. This movie is so much fun. I saw this in theaters when it came out, and I absolutely love this movie. It brings me all the feels and brings me back all the nostalgia and memories of this time. Love this movie. And of course, Michael Clarke Duncan's in this movie as well. But yeah, Armageddon is my number 23 on the list. Alrighty, and we're getting down into number 22. This is probably not on anyone else's list, but it means a lot to me, and it had to make my list. It had to get some recognition because this is definitely one of the funniest comedies of all time, definitely animated-wise, and that is the 1999 classic from Matt Stone and Trey Parker, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. This is such a funny movie. If you've been watching my channel, you know I'm a South Park fan. Love South Park. This came out, I was 10 years old. This is the epitome of a movie my parents would not let me go see in theaters. An animated movie kind of geared towards kids. The soundtrack is just hilarious. I don't know if they could do this movie these days with some of the humor in it, but absolutely loved it. I love this movie. I've seen it probably over 100 times. I can quote it from start to finish, and I just really, really do love the story of it because in a sense, this story was about me trying to watch this movie when in reality the movie was actually about the kids trying to go see the new Terrence and Phillip movie. So love the parallels there. Great, great movie. Highly recommended if you haven't seen it, but it's not for everyone, that's for sure. But so South Park is my number 22. At 21, it's another kind of slapstick sports comedy. One of my favorites. I mentioned earlier, I grew up playing hockey. I love hockey. I still watch hockey to this day. And now that I'm older, I do play golf. So this movie hits me in two different areas. But this is an all-time classic. Another one I've seen way too many times. Happy Gilmore, my favorite Adam Sandler movie. There's just too many good times in this movie. Obviously, Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin is an all-time classic. I still think Ben Stiller's character as one of the crazy psycho assisted living directors is hilarious in this movie. Of course, you got Carl Weathers as Chubbs. There's appearances by Kevin Nealon, Bob Barker, all-star cast. Very slapstick, very laugh-out-loud funny in parts. Watch this all the time. Highly, highly recommend Happy Gilmore. One of my all-time favorite comedy, sports movies, you name it. It's all up there. That's my number 21. Getting into my number 20 is another, I wouldn't say slapstick, although it is in certain parts. It is a very funny movie, very quotable. One I didn't grow up with, one I kind of experienced more when I was in high school, but man, have I fallen in love with this movie and seen it way too many times. This is written and directed by the Coen brothers, The Big Lebowski. Every bowling alley scene in this is absolutely hilarious. Obviously, John Goodman as Walter is just fantastic. I can't get enough of him in this movie. But yeah, I constantly revisit this. There's tons of laugh out loud moments. It's highly quotable. The rug really tied the room together. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. I mean, it goes on and on. John Turturro as Jesus. Oh, man. I can't get enough of this movie. So, so good. That's why it makes my number 20. All right. Coming in at my number 19 is an Arnold movie. At this time, I was very young, but I was very into Arnold Schwarzenegger like a lot of people were at the time. But I was so young, there wasn't many Arnold movies that I could watch that my parents would let me watch. But there was one that came out in the early 90s that wasn't rated R, that was PG-13. And that is Last Action Hero. I absolutely love this movie. This is probably the first Schwarzenegger movie I saw, and I've seen it so many times. Because of it being rated PG-13, I owned it on VHS and watched it tons and tons of times. Very happy to have this steelbook. But this, of course, came out in 1993. A lot of fun with it. It's pretty cheesy now, but there's tons of cameos in this movie from a lot of other stars. And then, of course, I love the scene in the blockbuster that shows the Sylvester Stallone being Terminator and Terminator 2, as well as the police station scene where you see a lot of different cameos and, of course, cartoon characters as well. But love this movie. Grew up with it. I felt like the kid so many times watching it. Wanted that golden ticket, so I had to include it on the list. And I own 3 or 4 different versions of this movie if I could find them, but absolutely love Last Action Hero. That's why it's my number 19. At number 18... this is a comedy I remember seeing in theaters. It came out much later than Last Action Hero, but 1998, classic comedy action, probably my favorite buddy cop movie, if you want to call it that. But Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan, and that is Rush Hour. Just the other day, I absolutely loved it. Very quotable, very funny. It's got there's just so many good Chris Tucker lines and Jackie Chan lines, but Rush Hour is one of my all-time favorites. Always love to rewatch this every year. It's just so good. Can't get enough of Rush Hour. All right, on to number 17. This is a night from 1994. It's got Dennis Hopper, Jeff Daniels, Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves. One of the few R-rated movies that I actually could see with the parents. Story is about a young police officer must prevent a bomb exploding aboard a city bus by keeping its speed above 50 miles an hour. That's right, Speed, all-time classic. So many good quotes in this, just so many good times. A fun action popcorn flick. Doesn't hold up as much today, but Dennis Hopper is absolutely menacing in this. Absolutely love him as a villain. Great, great movie. Highly recommend. That's my number 17. Moving on to my number 16. This one is from 1999. Starring Brendan Fraser. It's got Rachel Weisz, John Hannah, who absolutely steals the show in this. And this is a retelling of the classic movie, The Mummy. Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and of course John Hannah are absolutely spectacular in this. It's super, super funny. It's got a lot of action in it. It's my kind of movie. It's an adventure. It's got mummies in it. It's a movie I try to watch at least once a year. I can't speak on any of the other movies or Scorpion King movies, but the original Mummy right here is an all-time classic that I had to have on my list, and that's why it's my number 16. My number 15 is another action-adventure classic, this time with Robin Williams. This came out in 1995. I have seen this way too many times, especially as a kid, and I loved it. And that, of course, is Jumanji. Still got the clamshell VHS here, but yeah, just an all-time classic. It's got Kirsten Dunst in it. Favorites growing up, watched many times. It's a good family fun adventure with decent effects, and it's Robin Williams, so you can't go wrong with it. Jumanji, one of my all-time favorites as a kid. That is my number 15. Going into my number 14, which is a completely different movie than number 15 in Jumanji. Number 14, written, directed, and starring Quentin Tarantino. I mean, Steve Buscemi, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Michael Madsen, Harvey Keitel from 1992. That's right, Reservoir Dogs. This movie is so freaking good. I absolutely love this movie. It seems to get better every time I watch it. I seem to pick more out of it. This movie is essentially about 6 criminals who don't know each other, come together with fake names, and they are all recruited to do a diamond heist. And early in the heist, the cops show up, and it's very apparent that it looks like someone is an undercover cop and tipped them off. And, chaos ensues from there. But yeah, this is a gritty, violent, funny at times, has incredible dialogue. The whole opening scene about tipping at the table is great. There's tons of dramatic scenes, and of course, the all-famous ear scene. Can't get enough of this. One of Quentin Tarantino's absolute best, even if it is one of his earlier films. Love Reservoir Dogs, and that's why it's my number 14. At 13, I mean, what can we say about this movie? This movie got 13 Oscar nominations, 6 wins, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Director, with Sally Field, Tom Hanks, and a bunch of others. Forrest Gump. This movie, where were you when you saw this movie? I was like 5, 6 years old. It's super quotable, super funny, super iconic. Love seeing all the scenes with Forrest in the historical moments with the older presidents and stuff, and when actual crazy historic things were happening. I love how they implemented that into the movies. It really made it look real. And of course, it's just a super fun action adventure movie. I mean, it just has everything in it, basically going over his life. Of course, my favorite character in this is Lieutenant Dan, who's probably a lot of people's favorite. Of course, there's Bubba in this. They started a whole restaurant off of this movie, Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. I've actually been to 2 of the restaurants, one in Maui and one in Denver. Now, the one in Maui doesn't exist anymore, but just a quick story about the one in Maui. Chris Pratt from Jurassic World, he actually used to work at the Bubba Gumps in Maui, and he actually got some director, some casting person went in and saw him and gave him a job for something, and the rest is history. I'm telling you, folks, it's a true story. Look it up. Pretty crazy stuff. But Forrest Gump means a lot to me. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's got all the emotions. Super quotable. Stupid is as stupid does. Run, Forrest, run. Life is like a box of chocolates. The list goes on and on. It's even on there on the back. this movie just cannot make your list. Like, I almost took this off my list, but this movie is just so good. And with so many nominations and everything else, you can't find a more perfect movie than this. So Forrest Gump is my number 13. Another Tom Hanks movie at my number 12. This one came out in 1999. Maybe not as revered as Forrest Gump, but to me, a more impactful movie to me. At least when I saw it. And this, of course, is starring Michael Clarke Duncan, who actually won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in this. And, of course, Tom Hanks is in this. And, of course, I'm talking about The Green Mile. Just an incredible movie. So fantastic. A very rare rated R movie that my parents did let me go see in theaters with them, and I'm glad they did. This is just so freaking good. I revisit this once a year because it's so freaking good. It's got to be my favorite Stephen King adaptation. And yeah, this won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Supporting Actor. So Green Mile, all-time classic. So, so good. Had to have it on the list. That was my number 12. My number 11, man, we're getting into it. We're getting into some good stuff here. Number 11, this is from 1997. Another nostalgic movie that I saw in the theaters, and definitely the one that put me on the map for Will Smith. Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Rip Thorne's in it. Of course, I'm talking about Men in Black. What a fun movie this was in the theaters. So happy to have this on the collection and talking about it. I know it doesn't get the best rap, but this movie was so much fun when it came out, and I absolutely loved it. The other Men in Blacks are okay, but nothing compares to the original. The whole beginning when he's like trying out to be in the Men in Black, the whole room with the desk and stuff, I love that scene. Great lines in this. Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, great together. Yeah, can't say enough good things, but Men in Black is my number 11. All right, guys, we are now into my top 10. So these are all hopefully bangers. At least you would hope so, right? This one for sure is my favorite Disney movie of all time. Obviously one character in this completely steals the show for me. But that is the 1992 classic, Aladdin. Got the clamshell VHS and the 4K here. But yeah, what can we say about Aladdin? Robin Williams steals the show as Genie. He's absolutely incredible. I also do like Gilbert Gottfried as Iago. That's Jafar's parrot. Very, very memorable to me, those voices, and watching this movie. I love the songs in this. Everything about this movie is just hands down great. Jafar is a badass. I mean, great villain. Jasmine is amazing in this. And then obviously you got Abu, Aladdin's monkey. I love Aladdin. It had to make my top 10. Glad to have that on the list. Number 9. A lot different than Aladdin. It might not make very many people's list, but it did make mine. This came out in 1999. This has got Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, Keanu Reeves. Yes, we're talking about The Matrix, the original Matrix. What a movie. I remember seeing the trailer for this when they were dodging bullets and was like, this is something we have to see. What an achievement in special effects. Running on walls, dodging bullets, all that stuff was so cool. What else? It's just a dark, fun, action, sci-fi movie that makes you think. It's super quotable. What are you waiting for? You're faster than this. Don't think you are. Know you are. Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me. I mean, there's just so many great lines from Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves. I love this movie. And Joe Pantoliano as Cypher. Really, really love that as well. The Matrix. Highly recommend seeing if you haven't. One of my all-time favorites. That's why it is my number 9. I rewatch that all the time. I have all the other Matrix here, but I don't watch them. Just the first one. All right. Going into my number 8. This was another movie I saw in theaters, and I was scared initially at first going in to see it because I wasn't sure what to expect from the trailers, but we knew we had to see it in theaters, and that is the 1996 disaster End of the World movie, and this would be my favorite disaster End of the World movie of all time. Roland Emmerich's Independence Day. That's right. This is all-time classic for me. It doesn't get much better than this. The 90s cheese in this is just everywhere, and it is so much fun. It's so quotable. Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman, Will Smith, of course. This is so good. Absolutely so good. David! I love his dad in this movie. Yeah, I saw this when I was 7 years old. This movie made me laugh. It scared me. It kept me entertained. And yeah, we've been watching this for years. Yeah, oops. I mean, there's just so many great quotes in this. I try to watch this every 4th of July if possible. It's just another fun action disaster comedy with some really memorable moments. And obviously, the president's speech is a very memorable moment. I wish I had it memorized. But also, I love Dr. Oaken in this, or as we like to call, the Freak Show. Yeah, love Dr. Oaken in this movie. Such a great movie. And that's why it's my number 8. I could watch this any day of the week. I love it so much. Going into my number 7, and quite the opposite in terms of movies. This is a Steven Spielberg movie. This movie came out in 1993. 7 Oscar wins, including Best Picture. Might not make many people's list because this is not a happy movie in any sense of the word. But this is such a freaking good movie. It had to make my list. Had to make my top 10. I try to watch it once a year, even if that's hard to believe. I really do. It is so freaking good. That is, of course, Schindler's List. I first saw this movie when I was in junior high. We watched this for like history class or something, and I was absolutely blown away. This had to be the first movie I seen where I was so engaged and interested in it, but I wasn't laughing. It wasn't an action adventure, essentially. It was very depressing. It was very sad. And it was, based on a true story. So I had all the feels for this. And when I saw this at a young age, it affected me. But, man, every time I watch it, I get something new out of this. This is such a freaking good movie. It's just so good. Like I said, I've watched this once a year if possible, even with how hard it is to watch at times. But I have to mention Ralph Fiennes in this movie. I don't think he won Best Supporting Actor for this, but he should have, because he played his role was so scary, harsh, menacing, disturbing at times. But man, oh man, Ralph Fiennes was incredible in this movie. Schindler's List, one of the best movies ever made, hands down. And that's why it's my number 7. My number 6 is a Martin Scorsese film. It is very underrated, very underappreciated in my opinion. It's got Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, all the usual suspects, but I don't think it makes many people's list for whatever reason. I sometimes enjoy this over the other one, but today it comes in at my number 6, and that is Casino. I love this movie. Not as much as Goodfellas, but man, oh man, I love the story of this. I love the location of this. 1970s Las Vegas. This is so great. You get to see all the old sites. I started watching this in high school. I got into mob movies, and I found Casino shortly after Goodfellas, and I absolutely loved it. It's brutal, it's raw, it's gritty, kind of shows you, like I said, it's underrated. I know it gets overlooked from Goodfellas, but Casino had to make my list at number 6. Such a great, great movie. We are into my top 5. All these movies are just like almost perfect movies in my opinion. So, these could be rotated around, switched around, depending on the day. But these top 5 are usually going to stay when we're talking 90s. This one's written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Came out in 1994. It's got multiple stories going on at different times. Kind of revolutionized that in movies. And that is Pulp Fiction. You got an all-star cast. John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Samuel Jackson, Bruce Willis, many, many more. Love this movie. It's a masterpiece in dialogue. This won an Oscar for Best Writing Screenplay. And it should have, because it's so quotable. It's so funny. The lines in this. Absolutely crazy and violent at times. So many good quotes. Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast. God, you gotta love these lines. English, motherfucker, do you speak it? So good, so quotable, so much fun. I know a lot of people like the beginning and not the end of this movie. It does have some slower parts with Bruce Willis, but I enjoy every part of this movie. They all tie in. And again, it's a movie that every time I watch it, I get something a little more out of it. This is a masterpiece in comedy, dialogue, action, violence, all in one. Pulp Fiction. It doesn't get much better than this. Absolutely great, fantastic movie. That is my number 5. Coming into my number 4. I mean, is there really anything that I need to say about this movie? 1991, directed by James Cameron, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This might be the best action movie ever made. This movie is so much fun, so action-packed. It does have a couple of, and obviously it's got the famous Arnold one-liners, I'll be back, all that good stuff, but they got some other great liners as well. What can I say? This is a masterpiece of a movie. I watched this many times. This was one movie I didn't get to see super early on, but I did have friends whose parents were cool who had this on VHS, so every time I came over, we did end up watching this. Terminator 2, so much fun. Action masterpiece, and again, one of the best movies ever made action-wise. I don't think there's really anything else to say, but Terminator 2 is my number 4 today on the list. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, guys, we have made it to the top 3. All of these are fantastic movies, you know, perfect movies for me. It is an Oscar winner. It's got a bunch of people in it. How about Paul Giamatti, Vin Diesel, Tom Sizemore, Matt Damon, Tom Hanks. That's right. Saving Private Ryan. If you watch my channel, you know I love South Park and war movies, and I do love gangster movies. This is a World War II masterpiece. Everyone talks about the opening D-Day scene on the beaches of Normandy, which is, you know, incredible. One of the best scenes ever, action scenes ever made. And, you know, honestly, I try to watch this every anniversary, June 6th. This is a fantastic movie. I know the D-Day scene at the beginning is usually what gets most of the praise in this movie, but this entire movie is fantastic. I know some people say it kind of slips up and slows down in parts, but I really do like the supporting cast here. Like I said, Paul Giamatti and Vin Diesel's one of his earlier roles in this movie. Barry Piper as the sniper. I love this movie. I can't get enough of this movie. I watch it so many times. When the Ryan's mom gets the letter of all the other sons, being killed in action, it's just heartbreaking to me every time. Top war movie for me, one of the top. Maybe not my favorite war movie, but this is, top 3 as far as war movies. Watching the opening scene on 4K is just incredible. This is one, I like to hunker down, turn off all the lights, and rip the knobs off. That is the volume knobs all the way up, so you could really feel the house shake during that opening scene. Winner of 5 Academy Awards, including Best Director. What a fantastic movie. Can't say enough about Saving Private Ryan, and that is why it is my number 3. Love this movie. At my number 2, we're going back to Martin Scorsese. This is a gangster film, of course. Oh, I'm sure everyone knows what it is. 1990. This is actually the earliest film I have on my list, and it's making it in on number 2. Stars Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro in this gangster's masterpiece, and that is Goodfellas. The story of Henry Hill and his life in the mob. What a movie. As soon as I got this on DVD, I watched this over and over and over and over and over and over again. The music in this I love, the way the story's told, the comedic aspects of some of the parts of the movie, and of course how serious and crazy some parts of this movie are as well. This is just hands down a perfect movie for me. It never gets old. Joe Pesci asking if I'm funny never gets old. The whole opening, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster. Loved it. Love this movie. It's a true story for the most part too. The whole airport heist, the Lufthansa heist. It's just fantastic. Great movie. Love it. Like I said, I've probably seen this 100 times. Try to watch it every year, if not multiple times a year. And like I said, growing up as a kid, big into gangster movies, this was the epitome of it. It's not my favorite, but it is right up there in my top 3 for sure. Goodfellas is so freaking good. This is my number 2 90s movie on the list. Which brings me to the number 1 movie. Was filmed on a tropical island in the summer of 92. And that island was hit by a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane, during filming. And they have a lot of shots of the hurricane in this movie. And of course, that tropical island I'm talking about is the Hawaiian island of Kauai. And the hurricane I'm referring to is Iniki. And the movie that is number 1 that I'm referring to is Jurassic Park. I have the Jurassic World 5 movie collection, but we are talking about the original, the OG, the masterpiece that is Jurassic Park. I absolutely love this movie. The quotes, Richard Attenborough is just fantastic. You got Jeff Goldblum in there, of course, Laura Dern, but Hammond is just fantastic. The quotes, clever girl, it's a dinosaur. All those are just so fantastic. And I just love the scenery of this movie. All filmed on Kauai. They're one of the best movies ever made. It's got one of the best scenes ever made with the dinosaur, with the T-Rex coming through the fence. Jeff Goldblum's amazing. Sam Neill is so freaking good. Love this movie. I've read the book, Jurassic Park. And although I like the book a little bit more, just because it adds a little bit more to it, this movie is hands down just an absolute masterpiece. You'll think that I'll have that on the tour? I just love it. I watch this movie more than any other movie. If there's a time where I have friends over, or even at night and I don't know what to put in, Jurassic Park is always one that is welcome, just because it's so familiar. Everything is so familiar. The lines, the setting, everything. So, Jurassic Park, number 1, hands down. I mean, there's no question about it. So, that is it, guys. I've made it through my top 25. I'm glad that you were able to stick around and check it out. Hope you enjoyed some of my picks. Hope some of them were surprising. And then, of course, there's some that are not too surprising because they're just really great films. But again, if you do not agree with my list, please provide your own list in the comments down below. I have got Tim Talks Talkies information down below as well. If you want to make your own video, if you want to send him a DM on Instagram, you want to send him an email with your list, please feel free to do so. But again, if you just comment on this video with your list, I will get that over to him. As I mentioned, I have a couple friends and family trying to partake in this as well. So I do plan to give a couple more lists to Tim via email. So if yours is submitted in the comments down below, I will definitely add yours to the email that I send over to him. I think you have until March 31st at 11:59 p.m. As the cutoff of when those lists are going to be accepted. And then that'll give him a week to go through the list and get everything counted up. But again, the live stream for this is going to be April 8th on YouTube over at Tim Talks Talkies channel. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of great guests, and it's going to be an awesome stream like they always are. So can't wait to see everyone's. Give it a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff if you're interested. And we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.